Welcome, friends. I'm Carrie, and I'm a recovering food addict. And I want to tell you a story about my last cheat day. So, I had been on this recovery path for about 6 months, and I'd been doing amazing. I'd lost lots of inflammation, I was feeling great. I got myself out of the cycle of always being in constant fight with myself, like on do I eat this or do I not eat this? And the mental struggle that gave me. And so I finally felt this sense of freedom. The weight was falling off of me, but I was, and I always talk about weight comes secondary, and it's just like a natural side effect and becomes effortless, in my opinion. But to get back to the story, so I love to travel and I love to go to the mountains, which is kind of weird since I live in the mountains. But anyway, it was the time of year where the leaves change color, and I absolutely love going. Every single year I go. Now, usually these trips are packed with new foods to try, favorite restaurants that we're used to going to up there that we don't have at home. But this trip was going to be different, or at least so I thought. So, like I said, I've been in recovery for about 6 months, and I was trying to figure out how are we going to eat on this trip. So, here's the thing. At home, we have a few restaurants. They're plant-based. They don't use like processed plant foods or anything like that in it. They use low amounts of like salt, and they don't use any refined sugar, and if any oil, it's very little. But we were going to a resort town, and I looked, and literally there were none of these restaurants anywhere around. So I had to come up with a plan. And we all know planning is crucial for every day, but especially if you're going to go somewhere new or you're going to be off of your routine or something like that, then you definitely have to plan. This is one day why I hope to have an RV, so that everywhere that I go, my kitchen goes with me and I never have to worry about anything like that. So anyway, sorry to get off track. We usually stay in a place that has a full kitchen, and that makes it so much easier. And however, with this being a resort town and peak season for the leaves, there were none. They were all sold out. So I had to go with my second option, which was this hotel. And the one that I found that had a microwave and fridge and had rooms available was the casino. And we all know what casinos, besides the machines, are good for, and that's food. Like, there are a ton of food options, and they, let's just be frank, are not that healthy. So I decided that since this is going to be a very short trip, that I would get to planning and make all the food for our days on the trip. And now I wanted to make it kind of simple and easy too. So I didn't want to make it hard on myself in the planning stage. So I made simple meals. Check-in was at 4, and it's a 3-hour drive. So I knew that we could eat breakfast and lunch at home before we left, and that would leave me with dinner the first night and then 3 meals the next day into the following. I think that makes sense. So I decided picnic styles for lunch and fruit. So this was nice because for the day we were looking at leaves, we could stop and have a picnic in the park, and on the way home we could stop along the river and have our lunch there. Breakfast, I decided, would be the usual that we have at home, which is overnight oats and fruit, and then I just prepped a few dinners. And this way I could just store everything in the fridge, just take it out and microwave it, and that would be it. The first night was fine. We got there, we got settled in, we went for a swim, we ate our dinner, we headed out to the casino to enjoy that. We had a really good time. And because we were tired, we kind of headed back to the room early. So the next morning, we got up, we had our breakfast, we went out for the leaves and to look at the leaves. We took our lunch and some fruit, and we enjoyed our day, and we even enjoyed our little picnic lunch. It was a lot of fun. And then we headed back to the hotel. And when we got back, we decided to go immediately out to the casino floor again. We probably, in hindsight, should have had our dinner, but we didn't. And when dinner time rolled around, we decided that we had been so good for all of these months, and by we, I mean my husband and I. Um, but I thought that I deserved a day to enjoy myself. Here I am on vacation, and it's, we're having this great time, and there's, all this food around. And I thought, I'd done so good, I deserve a cheat day. I can handle a cheat day. It's been 6 months and I've done great, hadn't had any problems. What is it going to hurt to have a cheat day? So, against my better judgment, I decided I'm going to have mushroom and onion pizza for dinner. That was a huge mistake because it just set off this desire within me to just have one more thing. So, of course, I had to follow it up with some ice cream for dessert. And I made all sorts of excuses besides I deserved a cheat day. So, I don't know. I just talked about how I was still eating veggies and that this was away from home, and I can give myself permission to do this because it isn't in my kitchen or my house. I don't have a casino at home, so it's not like it's going to be like a trigger place and I'm going to see it and decide that I need to run over and get a mushroom and onion pizza when I get home. Well, guess what? When I got home, I thought, now I can just eat once a week somewhere that has veggie dishes as long as I don't bring the stuff into the house. Well, that in itself was a dangerous thing for me because I just kept giving myself more and more rope. So now it was getting hard to say no, period. And before I knew it, I was bringing processed plant foods into the house. So your plant-based burgers, cheeses, breads, pizzas, all the box stuff that they have for plant-based eaters. So then I started making high-calorie desserts at home, and I had convinced myself that just because it was plant-based, it was okay to eat it. So you see, just this one cheat day that I was going to have because I felt I deserved it turned into months of me being off the road, in the ditch, and stuck in the mud. It was so hard to get myself back on track, and absolutely none of it was worth it. My cravings were back with a vengeance. My energy was completely gone. Motivation out the window. I told myself, what's the point? I've already messed up. What's the point? I don't know what to do. Maybe I'll just start fresh on Monday. Does it sound familiar to you? If you've ever told yourself that a cheat day will help you stay on track, I am here to tell you the truth. Cheat days are a big, fat lie. A load of BS. We're told that cheat days will give us balance, that they're going to keep us from feeling deprived. But here's the thing. If you're recovering from a food addiction, cheat days don't relieve cravings. They reignite them. It's just like an alcoholic thinking they can have just one drink. That one drink isn't harmless. It's a trigger. It sets off this chain reaction that's going to pull you right back into the addiction cycle. Don't let that happen. Food addiction works that exact same way. It's going to suck you back in. So here's what cheat days actually do to you. They're going to restart cravings. So your brain remembers that dopamine hit, and suddenly you're thinking about food all the time again. Remember how I used to think about food day and night? And it started when I'd get up in the morning thinking about breakfast, and then after I was done, I was wondering what I was going to eat for lunch, and then dreaming about that great dinner that was just hours away. Oh, and don't forget about the snacks in front of the TV before bed. And speaking of bed, it was off to dreamland to dream about more food, only to start that cycle over and over and over again. Trust me, I hated it. This just engulfed my whole life. My whole life then became about food. Who wants to go back to that? Not me. It creates guilt and shame so that you don't feel satisfied, and you feel like this big failure and you're just miserable with yourself. It messes with your body. So even one cheat day can cause this big, huge inflammation surge, and it may even be worse than the inflammation was in the big, before you started all of it, because it's just, I mean, it's just like hitting, like you've detoxed yourself from all that stuff, and now it's just like, boom, it's just like hit your whole body. So you can have bloating, and you're going to have this huge energy crash. It's just crazy. And it reinforces that all or nothing mentality. So you go from being good to going all out, and then that cycle just continues over and over and over again. And that, my friends, is why cheat days don't actually help. They really just keep you trapped. So what I needed to do was to change that mindset again. You know what? It seems to always come back to that mindset, doesn't it? So this shift would be food is not a reward. And trust me, food is not a reward. For years, I thought it was something that I had to earn. If I was good all week, I could have that treat. If I ate healthy, I deserved that cheat meal. But that is the wrong mindset. What I do deserve is health and vitality, and to be able to move my body, and to be able to enjoy my life and not have food constantly on my mind. So trust me, food isn't a reward. It's fuel. It's nourishment. It's what allows us to live our lives. And when you stop using food as a way to reward or punish yourself, every single thing in your life changes. Instead of waiting all week for this one big meal or day, then I started making something, where every meal is something that I looked forward to. I found ways to make my food delicious, satisfying, and enjoyable without setting off my addiction. And that's the real secret. When you stop seeing food as something that you need to cheat on, you stop feeling deprived in the first place. So when I was thinking, do I want a cheat meal? Like I say, no. I want self-care, not self-destruction or self-sabotage. So I want to give you a little science here. Let's talk about what's actually happening in your brain and body when you have this cheat day. So you have that dopamine and craving cycles. When you eat sugar, salt, fat, highly processed foods, your brain releases that rush of dopamine that we've talked about before. It reinforces that bad habit. And blood sugar spikes and crashes, cheat meals will send your blood sugar through the roof, followed by that crash that makes you even more hungry, even more tired, and more likely to, guess what, continue to binge. Then there's that old justification trap. Just one cheat meal will end up turning into a weekend, and then a week, and then you're back exactly where you started. And I used to think that I needed more willpower, but the truth is, willpower isn't the issue. And again, there's that willpower word. The issue is the addiction cycle, and the only way to break it is to stop going back to the foods that kept you trapped. So if cheat days don't work, then what would work? Let's unpack that for a minute, okay? So I think the first thing is you need to create an abundance mindset. Instead of seeing healthy eating as this restriction, focus on what you can have. Find foods that nourish you, fill you up, and actually make you feel good. Some of my favorite meals, and trust me, I never ever thought that any of these things would taste good, let alone become favorite meals. Steamed kale and spinach with a balsamic mushroom and onions. Oh, chef's kiss. Really good stuff. Overnight oats with strawberries and blueberries. And my absolute favorite, a giant. And when I say giant, I mean giant. A big, huge mixing bowl type salad. A dinner, actual entree dinner salad with chickpeas and mango and bell peppers and red onions and radishes and carrots and shredded broccoli and avocado with this homemade mustard dressing. Oh my goodness. It is so, so, so good. It makes you look forward to eating, I promise. And when you love what you eat, you don't feel like you're missing out on anything. And yes, I actually eat these foods and I love them. Number 2, I would say, is to rewire your brain. So you're going to do that by removing the triggers in your environment, because we all know that your environment shapes your choices. We just talked about environment and how important that was in the last video. Check that out if you haven't, by the way. It's a really good one. If you keep hyper-palatable foods in your house, you are setting yourself up for failure. I don't keep addictive foods around anymore because if it's not there, I can't eat it. Simple as that. Number 3, develop a routine that supports you. Meal prep so that you're always having healthy foods at the ready. Eat regular times to avoid extreme hunger. This one was a game changer for me. And let me tell you a little bit of a story about this. My mom used to tell me all the time to get on a schedule. Like before I decided to change my life, she was always like, you'll feel better if you get on a schedule. Go to bed at the same time. Get up at the same time. Eat your meals at the same time. And I'm like, Mom, you don't know what you're talking about. Trust me, Mom knows what she's talking about. Since having a schedule, I eat my 3 meals a day at the same time. I go to bed at the same time. I get up at the same time. And it just has made everything easier to do and a whole lot better. So you need to find non-food ways to deal with stress. So walking, journaling, deep breathing, talking to a friend. We've discussed those 2. Number 4, make every single meal enjoyable. If you're constantly waiting for that next cheat meal, then your everyday meals aren't satisfying you enough. I do somewhat, in my opinion, recommend that when you're starting, if you have an addiction to food, the simpler, more boring it can be, and sometimes even the same meals every single day are, I think, more beneficial in the beginning. However, experiment with flavors and seasonings and textures so that all of your food feels like a treat. Now, when I started out, I started doing what I was talking about, and I still do that somewhat today. So I'll have oatmeal every 5 days a week, like typical work days, for breakfast with my berries. But then maybe I'll have a waffle on my off days. And I kind of have the same lunch. I have salads and soups and stuff like that. So routine is important, and the boring routine was really important in the beginning for me. But now I've kind of branched out, and I do typically go for something different a couple of days a week. But once I broke that cycle and noticed things started to get boring, you can move on to more exciting whole plant foods. I did that, tickled my taste buds. It's nice to do that every now and then. And the day that I gave up cheat meals for good, I really felt free. More free than I can really even explain to you. Like, it's probably not something that I can put into words because it's that amazing. No more counting down the days until my next binge. No more cycling between restriction and overeating. No more guilt or shame. So when I finally committed to eating in a way that made me feel good every single day, my cravings died down, my energy soared, and I felt this control in my life for the first time. It's pretty amazing. I kind of think of the hokey pokey. How you can't have one foot, in the dance, you put one foot in and one foot out. You really can't do that in this world. If you have any kind of addiction to food, you can't have one foot in and one foot out in recovery. It really just doesn't work. So here's my challenge for you. I want you guys to just try 1 month without a cheat meal. You can do anything for 30 days. Instead of waiting for your next so-called treat, focus on making your everyday food something that you absolutely love. Pay attention to how your body feels when you stop going back to all these addictive foods. And I promise you, it is so worth it. Now, I want to hear from you. Have cheat days helped or hurt your journey? Drop that comment below and let's talk about it. And until our next conversation, remember, we're doing recovery together. So stay strong, set yourself up for success, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.